one day I was at work bored and I was like, well, hypothetically, let's say I just wanted to buy a car and put it on Turo, and I put in the numbers and the numbers just made sense. And all the way on the right side, it says, is it a good deal? It says yes or no. And I was like, well, this seems like it makes sense. And like literally the day I was looking into it, the next day I purchased the car. And it's been working beautifully for me ever since. Every month has been working really well. Last month was my best month yet. The first month, in compared to the second month, my profits tripled.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
tripled.
Welcome to the Share the Wealth Show, where minority professionals can learn to escape the racial wealth gap and catapult themselves into abundance. Your host, Nicole Pendergrass, grew her net worth from being negative to multiple six figures. Join her on her investigative mission to expose secret strategies of the wealthy so we can all have the tools needed to build the life and legacy we were created to possess. Now it's time for the show.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Share the Wealth Show. This is the show where we discuss strategies on how to build, grow, and protect minority wealth. And today I have with me Brianna and Tyrell, and I am so excited to introduce them to you all. And kind of you'll hear the story of some of the drama I've been going through, but we are officially new business partners, and I'm super excited for this next venture. I'm excited to see their growth as a business duo. And I want to jump into everything that they've been up to, what I've been up to, this opportunity, which is not new. I know you guys have heard about it before, but maybe you just need a reintroduction, or maybe you want to know how to do this for yourselves or how to find someone who could potentially help you do it like me. Okay. First, I actually want to ask you both a random question. I don't know if I should ask you both the same question or different. I'll ask you the same question. We'll see. What are you most, or what are most people afraid of that doesn't scare you?
Some people are afraid to lose money. And I think that when people try to get into investments and stuff like that, people are very afraid, they're scared. And I feel like for us, we've been risk takers, and the risk to reward ratio, we always like comb it out and see through that process. So I think that's one thing that people can be afraid of that we haven't been afraid of. So
I would say one thing or another thing people are afraid of is taking that step. So I know before we did this full time, we were working on 42nd Street. Both of us
yeah,
working on 42nd Street, very corporate jobs. And we both realized, like it's not for us. It's not that lifestyle we felt was putting a ceiling on our growth. And we felt like we have so more both individually and collectively that we can contribute to ourselves, to our lives. And we just took that leap of faith. And sometimes you don't know your next step, but sometimes you don't know what the end goal is, but sometimes you just need to know your next step. And then before you know it, you've taken 10 steps and you're further than where you were when you took that first step. So, yeah.
Have you been reading like all of my past posts and like diving into the psychology of how both of you, like it's basically, we literally think the same. That's exactly what I say all the time. I post about it all the time. Like it's definitely taking that next step, not being afraid to take a little risk, because scared money don't make money, right? I know we all
right.
heard that before. And it's very true. I love that answer. That was off the cuff, but like you guys bounced right off the wall with that. That was fantastic. Love it. Okay. So what in your past, or what do you think happened in the development of your mindset now? And we both see well, we all see you have a very growth oriented mindset, right? But what happened, do you feel like, that led up to you developing that kind of mindset? Because a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah, definitely, like Tyrell said, being in situations or jobs where you felt like there's a ceiling on like your growth and potential. And then also kind of just for me personally, being someone that's like rebellious and wants to be on my own timing, own schedule. I've saw that certain positions and certain jobs didn't really mesh well with me, and I needed to figure out my lane and what I was able to do every day comfortably, confidently. And that's what's kind of led me more so into the entrepreneurial mindset, and just that kind of mindset and that take charge mentality over my life. So I guess those situations.
Same
Yeah.
for you, Tara?
Yeah, for me, it was more so the repetition of a job. If you have a like an easy job, like some people are satisfied with that, or like you do the same thing every day. Some people are really satisfied with that. For me, I feel like if I could do the same thing for myself, and there's an unlimited amount of potential of, I mean, really how much money I would be able to make, I might as well apply those skills that I've learned over the years to myself, rather than doing it for someone else and only, making, X amount of dollars per week. So once I realized that, hey, like you could really just be doing this for yourself, that's what really kind of pushed me out of feeling comfortable just doing it for someone else.
Nice. And what about your childhoods? What kind of household did you grow up in? Like normal, like middle class? Was there struggles? Did you have like silver spoons in your mouth? Like what was the foundation and the framework for even getting to like, okay, now I'm at this job and I realize that this monotony or, cap on my ceiling is not really for me. Like I want to do my own thing, could do it for myself, but that had to stem from somewhere.
Yeah, I'll start with this one. So my family didn't really struggle. But my I would say drive came from working with my father when I was young. I had no choice but to work with my father. They didn't really want to, my parents didn't want to work. I mean, they didn't want to pay for like a babysitter or anything. And my dad, he owned his own construction company. So he would just take me to work. I hated it though. I didn't like going to work. Dad. Uh, During summer vacations, school vacations, he would always just say, "You're going to work with me." And especially when I got to the age where I could stay home, and my father used to say, "You're not staying home. You're coming to work with me." I didn't like it personally. And this is nothing against my father. He just had his own set ways of doing things. And I didn't it didn't mesh well with me as a young person just trying to learn, but also a young person feeling like they had so much to contribute. And my dad, he had me there like a more of a handyman. As I got a little older, I got like some privileges to like help do some construction projects, but I wanted my own construction project. And from just going to work every day with him, feeling miserable, in the sense of like I didn't want to be here, that's what really kind of stemmed off like my mentality of, if I'm not enjoying my job, I'll always find another job. That's how it kind of started. It started off as I can always find another job if I don't like my job, and then it transitioned from I can always find another job to I can always do this for myself. So
Yeah, for me, I grew up, I would say middle class, but I saw the change when I was younger. Both my parents, they were working, city jobs. My dad was working in corrections. My mom was working for the city. And then I saw the change with my dad once he retired really young, and then he started to work in real estate. And so when I was younger, back in like 2010, he started in Airbnb and stuff like that. And then me and my siblings, we became the cleaning crew. But just kind of working with my parents and kind of seeing the trajectory of like, just two different perspectives of work, one entrepreneurial and then one, having a stable income, stuff like that. I was able to see the dynamic of the two different work styles. But ultimately that was like the household that I grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant, and I'm one of five. And then I have my two parents. So it was like a Brady Bunch household, honestly. And yeah, I was able to see the change within my parents' financial situation, and also the change within my neighborhood, and like the gentrification too of Brooklyn. So it was a nice transition, I guess, over the past, 15 years, just yeah, for my living situation and my environment.
Looking to build wealth with real estate? Are you all tapped out on YouTube University and ready to get help tailored to your specific situation and goals? Have you always known that you were a little different from the crowd, that you never liked following the status quo, and that you're just tired of living in mediocrity? You want to build wealth on your own terms outside of Wall Street? Well, then maybe the Microfamily Mavericks Mentorship Program can help with that. It's a community where I handhold you through the process of buying your first small commercial multifamily building, because not everyone is ready for 100 units out the gate. Why multifamily? Because it gives your rental income a hedge against vacancy. Imagine what happens when your single family rental tenant leaves, right? And why commercial 5+ units? Because you have much more control over increasing the building's value in the commercial space, and then in turn, increasing your own net worth. Starting small is a stepping stone to so much more, because then you can tap that equity and buy another building and another and another, and you get the point. So increasing your cash flow and your ability to be job optional along the way. It's all a part of the journey. So if you think big, but you want to start small, and if you know multifamily real estate is a way for you to open the door to building a life of freedom, abundance, and legacy, but you just need someone to guide you step by step, and you want to be surrounded by other people on the same journey, doing the same thing, then just click the link in the show notes to find out a little bit more about the Microfamily Mavericks. And I look forward to potentially seeing you on the inside. So now back to the show. Yeah, I was going to point out, just for anyone listening didn't know where Bed-Stuy was, that's in Brooklyn. That is notorious now for being highly gentrified compared to what it was, especially, in the 80s, 90s, which I know is before both of our times. We didn't grow, we would have been around during that time. We didn't grow up really enough to know what it was like, but you've been there long enough to, like you said, be able to see and notice all the changes that was happening in the community. Okay, so I love both of those backgrounds. Definitely kind of sow seeds of entrepreneurialism into your minds, and I think that's great. Honestly, as a parent now and hearing your story, Tyrell, I'm thinking maybe your dad was being like having a secret mission of not wanting his young son to have a house to himself during the summer.
Yeah.
And doing who knows what.
I hated
keep you out of trouble. I think that's probably what his secret motive was.
I hated every day of it, but now that I'm older and I'm actually like now working in different Airbnbs and real estate related spaces where I now have knowledge that I've acquired from all those miserable days working with my father, I thank him now. I definitely do thank him now.
It's definitely, those times that we go through that are tough, or at least things that we just don't want to even have to deal with. And you just look back sometimes, and sometimes it's years and years of doing something that you think is going to turn out one way, or you might have an opportunity, like you say, you had an opportunity one time to help with something, but you wanted your own construction project. So maybe that was a underlying ray of hope, in going each day. But it's like those things, we never expect what we're really learning on the back end of bad or boring or horrible circumstances. They always end up giving us something that we need to use later on. And if we didn't have it, then we would have figured it out. But why figure it out when you already figured it out before? It kind of helps shortcut future endeavors.
Exactly.
And it does help out today, especially with her Airbnb stuff. When she's like, yeah, we got to do this. I'm like, I could do that.
Yeah, he's very good with like the construction and like all the interior kind of like maintenance, stuff like that. He's make a good team.
I love it. How did y'all meet?
We met, it's interesting. We met 4th of July last year. Was it last year? Yeah, 4th of July last year in passing. It was just like, it was at like an event, and Tyrell came up to me and we were just like kind of passing. We weren't really connecting at that moment. But then about like 7 months later, we ended up meeting again at my best friend's. She was having like a what was it? Like basically a house party or something like that, or like just a get together, and then we reconnected there. And yeah, it was kind of like so
Yeah, we took off from there.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm confused. Having the conversation of entrepreneurship, like you guys doing Airbnbs and Turo and all this stuff together. How did that just like, oh hey, I got some Airbnbs. Want to help me? It's like, how does that even come about?
My Airbnbs started. I started them around January. I got my first booking actually the day after I met Tyrell. So I met Tyrell. And then the next day I had people checking in, and that was my first guest that from my Airbnbs, like my first, like everything. And so then I was kind of, after we were talking and kind of getting to know each other a lot more, I was, telling him more about my day-to-day, what I have going on. I was also like renting the cars at that time, but everything was very like, I had one of everything, one Airbnb and one car. And so that, talk and conversation it resonated with each other, because we also like spoke about investing. Like we were investing in certain things back in 2020 that we connected on, that we lost a lot of money on, and we were like, oh my God, I lost a lot of money in that too. And so we like, after kind of like,
Was that crypto?
That was crypto for sure. Yeah. Gained a lot and lost a lot. So it was like a great learning experience. But we really connected on that, and just what he's trying to do in his family is also in real estate as well. So when at my friend's party, he was talking to my sister, and he was like, yeah, my family's, building stuff in St. Vincent. I was like, oh, my family's building stuff. So it was just like we kind of were in the same kind of playing field, and we kind of like grew and connected from that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now I guess let's just transition. I already mentioned Turo now. So everyone, that is the venture that I am getting into and partnering up with these two to help me grow my own Turo business. But it's actually, I don't know, it's really I'm helping them grow their Turo business through me having some cars. And however I could give some referrals to people who want to get into it as well, but don't want to do the day-to-day. So that's where partnerships become just important, to know what the skill set is of each person in the partnership and what they're bringing to the table, right? For me, I can get another car. They can get their own cars as well too, as they have, and we'll talk about that. But then I also have the full-time job, have the kids, have other businesses, and just things that are running this podcast, right? And so I don't have the time to do like run the operations of a car and rentals and picking them up and talking to people who want to book and all that. Like that just gives me, I don't know, a brain freeze. So that's what it feels like in my head. So after what was your first, I guess let's go into how it even got started. What was your first car, and how did you decide, what made you decide to put it on Turo? And I guess go into that experience. And I guess Tyrell, did you start with your own car first, or did you automatically, join in with Brianna on her cars?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So for me, I've been trying to get into, I'll just say Airbnb, but Airbnb and Turo for a long time. And back in 2021, I was living in Chicago at that time, and I was going to different dealerships looking for cars, just trying to figure out how to start with Turo, because I heard about it and I'm like, okay, this is actually like a great business model. But I just never had the capital to get the car. I didn't have the capital to get the cars at the time, and it was just a lot of fear with purchasing a car and putting it on this new platform, and that kind of like stunted me moving forward with that process. But eventually I moved back to New York, and I still wanted to get involved with Turo, and I had my car for a long time from college. And I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna go buy a car. If anything happens, I can just try it out with my personal car and see how it goes. And that car was my first ever car, a 2015 Chevy Sonic. It was red, And I listed it on Turo in November of 2022. And that was like my introduction to Turo. I was started to get a lot of bookings, and then it was very nerve-wracking at first because I'm like, I don't know, people are taking my car. Kind of the same thing of like Uber, when you're getting the first time you've gone to Uber, it's like a stranger's driving me, all that stuff. So that was kind of like my introduction to Turo. And then ever since, I've just been growing. And I had that car on the platform for about I want to say, yeah, about 9 months. And then I recently traded it in, got an updated car, and now I've been growing. And I also ordered another car this week, so I'm gonna have my first an economy car coming in. Have four. I have four, and then yeah. So my goal is just to really scale with this, but that was my introduction to Turo. Just putting my own personal car on it last year, and then here we are today.
Yeah. When I had first met Bree, she had told me about Turo. It was part of one of those conversations where we really connected. She sent over this whole like Turo PDF.
Yeah.
Is that the one you sent me?
Yeah.
And she
Nice.
walked me through it, and I was like, wow, like you really understand this to a T. And at first I started off just helping her, she was teaching me about the check-in process. She would have me go put gas in the car sometimes when she had stuff to do with the Airbnb
Deliveries.
or like when someone needed a delivery or needed the car delivered to them. I would go and I would deliver it to them. I'd throw my bike in the trunk. This is before I had my car, and then I dropped the car off, and then I bike all the way back to over here. And then sometime around September, like right before my birthday in October, it was like I was going through a whole like metamorphosis, and I didn't like my job. I was ready to take a whole bunch of leaps of faith, and literally I took about 5 different leaps of faith from like the end of September all the way up until now. But one of them, I bought a car. I went on Carvana. So one of the ways I was helping Brianna before I bought the car, I built like a Toro calculator.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. You put in the price of the car, you put in your desired daily rates. I think we went over it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one day I was at work bored, and I was like, well, hypothetically, let's say I just wanted to buy a car and put it on Toro, and I put in the numbers, and the numbers just made sense. And all the way on the right side, it says, is it a good deal? It says yes or no. And I was like, well, this seems like it makes sense. And so my first car was a Dodge Challenger 2021. And like literally the day I was looking into it, the next day I purchased the car. And it's been working beautifully for me ever since. I've made my car note, I've made my insurance every month since I only had it for like 2-3 months, but every month it's been working really well. Last month was my best month yet. The first month, in compared to the second month, my profits tripled. Yeah, tripled. And I can't complain. So for me, my own Turo experience has been like its own journey. I've been more so focused on reviews, as I'm like new to the platform technically. So far, nothing but 5-star reviews, and I got to give a lot of credit to Brianna for kind of setting that pathway for me to explore Turo. But Brianna, she has like over 100 trips under her belt, and now it's growing faster than ever. But yeah, that's kind of my personal experience with Turo. Turo does a great job of making sure that it's like stress-free for the driver or for the car owner.
Yeah.
So me buying a car, putting it on Turo, even if it's my first car, it's getting rented out now as we speak.
Yeah.
Like it's a complete carefree journey for me, simply because Turo, they make sure that they
They're well taken care
they're
of.
well taken care of, basically. Yes.
Nice. All right. So, okay, I'm going to go into a couple of different directions, but because I want anyone listening to, I guess, understand the thought process or maybe get over fears associated with getting that car, even though you said it is a stress-free, at least platform using Turo. So I know one of the first things people will be concerned about is what kind of car should I get? And, putting a lot of money or getting a car note on something that potentially may not rent as much as you think it might, and maybe you don't make your car note and you can't afford to come out of pocket for that car note on particular months. So I know it's like thousands and thousands of potential cars to choose from when you're looking for a car to put on Turo. But how do you ultimately decide a make and model, a year, miles, all of those kind of factors? So what will potentially be a good profit margin on Turo? Like, how did you find, you said Dodge Challenger was your first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your first one, Bree, was one you already had. And what was that again?
That was a Chevy Sonic.
Okay. So Bree, I understand you just use what you had already, which is fine. You can still run numbers on that. But with you, Tyrell, getting a new car when you were nervous or scared about that and taking a leap of faith, what made you decide that make and model?
Well, for me, the first thing I looked at was how well the car was doing on the platform. When I searched it up specifically in New York, muscle cars are more so like out of urban area cars where you could take it on the highway and really push it. But I didn't see much Challengers in New York, but I did see that they were going for about 70 to 105 a day. So I said, okay. And then when I was looking at the actual price and how much the car note would be, it came around to like $600. So like I told you, I went into the calculator, I typed it in, and I was like, okay, depending on how many years of the loan I choose to take, whether it's 24, 48, 72, how long can a 2021 car sustain on a platform? For me, I figured it was about 5 to 7 years. Because, even now that it's 2023, if we run out a 2018 car, we still think it's pretty new for some reason, even though it's like 5 years old, So I said, okay, 2021, I could have this on the platform till about like 2027. And in that year's time, I know that if it's rented out at X price and it gets rented out on average, I think the average is like 20 days a month. If it gets rented out on an average of 20 something days per month or 20 days per month, we'll say 15 just to be safe. We'll do a more conservative number. If it gets rented out at least 15 days a month at X price, I know that I could at least make this car note and insurance payment every month. And even if not, if you're putting $100 a month towards a car, that's way better than you struggling to put like $800, $900 a month. So
The full note, yeah.
I knew at the very least, if I had to come out a couple $100 every like few months or so, I'm totally fine with that, rather than just getting a car, using it for personal usage, and having a set amount that I need to pay every month. So for me, it was more like I didn't let the fears of the what ifs like deter my decision. I stuck to the facts of my calculator, and I was like, okay, even if half of the months you have a better month than you expected at the bare minimum, you're still going to have some leftover cash, where if you just put all of this cash in a bank account, if you have a month where you don't hit your goal, you still have some spare cash that you could put towards that month. So that was my mindset. And it was like, I'm not buying this car in a position where I'm like, okay, I'm solely relying on this income that's coming in. I knew like, okay, this car has payments. However much money this car makes, this car is basically going to pay for itself. If if it does more than what's expected, then you'll have some extra money for a low month. And over time, based off of the calculations, I know that it would at least even itself out or break even over time. So that was my mentality going in, especially having a car note, having insurance, and it's been working really well. Like I said, last month, I made enough money to pay off the car for 2 months. So all that money goes towards the next month. And now what you would see is over time, your cushion room for money, especially if you keep all that money secure in one account, you'll see like you can have that car comfortably. And not only that, if the car is on the road, something happens to it, Turo more than compensates you for your inconvenience every single time. So if something does happen, you could fix the car and still have some convenience money going into that account for a car note or whatever you need that money for. So, yeah.
Nice. Are you enjoying this episode? Then stop what you're doing right now. Head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It really helps our show get pushed to more people who are looking for the information that we're sharing here. We have to share the wealth. If you listen to us on YouTube, make sure you like the episode that you're listening to right now and subscribe to our channel. Then share the channel with somebody else. There are people out there looking for the information you're listening to right now. So make sure you share it with someone who you know needs it. Now, back to the show. So I get the at least the security that the car note and insurance and some of those expenses basically be covered, even doing calculations conservatively. But we ain't in business just to be breaking even. We in business to make some money up in here, right? All right. So from what you've seen in a few months, and Brianna, from what you've seen over time, on average, what have you seen per profit per car per month? Like, just, I know that's a random because you have a couple of different kinds of cars, so that will make a big difference. But what kind of profit are we looking at? Is it worth going through dealing with people's requests and doing drop-offs and all the operations of it? What's the profit looking like per car?
I would say for the mid-tier cars, you're looking at a minimum profit of 1,000 a month, and going through with the delivery fees, that I guess the management company or our end, that's worth it because you're getting like an extra $100 something. So but ultimately, I would say each car typically is like $1,000 in profit a month. With my Chevy, you can expect between 700 and 1,000 depending on the month, depending on the season. So it really varies on the type of car. Also, just to get back to when you're saying what types of cars to choose, you really want to do market research on your area. So being in New York, people may need a get around car. So something that's great on gas, great for parking, nothing like too big, but something that's like compact enough for families. I noticed that certain cars also bring a certain different clientele. I currently have 3 Audis, and I get people from the city who want drop-offs, or people from the city coming to pick up the car. And I see that that's a specific demographic. And then when you have like your Chevys, and then I also just got a Ford Fiesta. So with my Chevy, I did see more of like your everyday people who want the car for 2 weeks or even a month. I haven't had a month booking with my Chevy, but just working and talking with other Turo hosts as well. Those are the kind of cars that people want for their everyday get around. But market research is really important, especially with whatever kind of fleet you're trying to build. So, but yeah, so.
Okay. How do you do, someone who's new to this, how would they do like at least some quick high level market research? Like what would be the steps for them to go through?
Yeah, some high level market research would be to go onto Turo as well. They have like a whole list of cars that they update that they show their ROI, the return on investment, and the types of cars from economy, mid-tier to luxury. Also, if you're going on Turo, you can, if whatever car that you're interested in, you can go onto Turo and search up that car, that make and model, and the year that you're looking for, and see how is it doing on the platform, seeing how many trips do these people have, see what the reviews are looking like, how recent were the reviews. You see, okay, the review was just from 2 days ago. Okay, this car must be getting booked out. And kind of just being able to like dissect it through that. So just some online research on your market, your area, on Turo, the platform, and looking at Turo's actual documents of them giving a list of the vehicles that they suggest for the platform.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So that will give someone like a framework on how to at least do some research on looking for what kind of cars in their market are being booked out, what the daily rate kind of is. And then you can start looking for purchasing a car. How was your experience purchasing cars through Carvana, like an online platform? I know some people would prefer to go into a dealership because you can physically see the car before you get it. Have you had any issues with the cars, like maintenance wise, that are outside of the norm, purchasing cars from Carvana? How was that like experience getting them?
I'll let you. Well, we both just purchased cars from Carvana. And me personally, I feel like our experience has been great. The cars came in better condition and looked even better than what we saw online. And Carvana offered like a lot of great vehicles with low mileage. His had like 6,000 miles, and my car came with 7,900 miles. And I think the hassle-free process of purchasing your car through Carvana made it a lot easier for us. And I recently just purchased another car through Vroom. And I see the difference between Carvana and Vroom. Vroom, I had to go through a notary and stuff like that. So it was good to go through that experience because I've learned that so far Carvana has been my favorite platform to purchase cars from than anything else, even before dealerships too, because we went to dealerships as well. But what do you think?
Another thing with Carvana is they offer a Carvana protection program or protection care package, something like that. And so we paid for the premium one. So any mechanical, electrical issues that come about in the car, especially for the first 90,000 miles, through their partnerships with certain mechanics, we could just send the car over to them and they would fix everything, and we'd have a deductible of $100. So like, let's say a check engine light comes on and something's wrong with the engine. If it's still in the first 90,000 miles, we could just bring it over there. They'll give us a completely brand new engine and we just pay $100 for it. So it's nice to have that carefree mind or peace of mind when driving the car, especially in the initial stages. Also, when you do get the car, you have a week's time to drive it, I think at least 400 miles to really get a sense of if you really like the car. And they say no matter how small the problem is, you could be you don't like the paint, you could say you don't like the interior or whatever, you could give the car back to them completely free. So that was another thing for us, and we just love the fact that they delivered it right to our doorstep. So like, it was a completely and also when purchasing through Carvana, once you show them proof of insurance, they register the car for you. The car comes with the license plate, so literally as soon as you get the car, you could take it and drive it anywhere you want. So I think we live in a world where the easier the process, the more we're willing to pay for it.
Convenience.
We pay for convenience. And I think for us, being able to have the car ready to drive on demand, literally if we get the car in the morning, we could take photos in the afternoon, get it on Turo within the evening. And I know for Brianna, she's had cars booked like within the hour of putting it on the Turo platform. So
your car is doing good too, Nicole. I'm
It is? Oh, I'm excited. Well, okay, let me just we're gonna get to my car and what it's doing, because I definitely want to hear this update since the first screenshot you sent me. But that sounds like a dream, let me say, because you both know my experience getting my car was anything but easy. It was so many hoops and hurdles, and Oh my God, that was the most stressful. You know what I told my husband the other day? I told him that getting this car was more stressful than buying two of my multifamily buildings out in PA that I did before. Those were so easy. And I think that kind of spoiled me on how easy buying properties can be, because all of my experiences, my 3 unit, actually, my one that's in the city, that was a little bit more, it was like a lengthier process. That has some twists and turns in it, but still think stress wise, went through so much more stress trying to buy this car than anything that I've been through, and I don't know how long. Oh my God, I must have so many more gray hairs. It was such a hassle. So I will say I did throw a couple little extra hoops into the process because I was purchasing the car in my LLC, which was a new LLC, because I didn't want it to be associated with the LLC that owns real estate, because, for liability, wanted those separate. So having a new LLC and trying to get funding for that and going through a purchase process, that was why I didn't do Carvana, because they wanted you to purchase it personally. I thought it would be easier to buy it outright in the LLC than it would be to buy it in my personal name and then change title and do all this stuff. But now I think it might be easier to just buy it in my personal name and then just go through the paperwork to change title and refi or whatever I need to do to get the note in the LLC too. I don't know. I'll figure out what the next. I want to get another car soon before the holiday season is over, which is ticking. But I was stressed so much about trying to get this first car before the holiday season, and I did not want to miss Thanksgiving, and I missed Thanksgiving. And you're like, just when you drop the car, put the keys in the lockbox, because all our cars are booked out for the week. And I'm like, missed it. I missed it. Oh my goodness.
Steven was really good to us.
Yeah, if you have not bought a car at a dealership, unless you are a professional negotiator, unless you have time to sit there for hours of your day, and playing games, I'm done with dealerships. No.
You need to check Carvana next, maybe.
I'm about to start looking on them after we finish, this week. I'm looking. Yes, all right, because let's just continue, because I will go on an entire rant about car dealerships and my experience over the last few weeks. So we don't got that much time here. But anyway, what was the next thing I was going to say? Okay, so I know, you were saying my car is doing well. Oh yeah, so let's tell everybody what's my car doing. So I know we got the car finally the weekend. It was the weekend after Thanksgiving, right? Or the week after that. Thanksgiving was Thursday, and then that Saturday is when I got the car, dropped it at Brianna's, and then she did a couple things. A couple days later, the car was listed on Turo, and then the next day there was 1 month booking.
Yes, the next day after I uploaded the car to the platform, we got a 1 month booking. But for the summertime,
actually the summertime.
Yeah, that was smart, because I didn't do the dynamic pricing yet, because the summer months would be a lot more expensive. And so they snagged that deal, which is totally fine, but the summer months we upped that price.
Okay.
But however, it's all booked for July through August, and so far for this, and I guess the profit on that, I don't know if you want to talk numbers, but it's looking like, I want to say $1,650 we'll get for that.
Perfect.
And then this month is doing really well. It's booked from the 21st to the 31st, and then we have some other 3-day bookings throughout the month, as far as I recall. And I would say maybe $1,000 so far for this month, and we haven't even booked out the full month, so we have more days. So $1,000 gross. And then we have 2 weeks that still are open, and it's still the first week of December, so we have a lot of time to get things booked. So looking good. So that's actually all 3 of the Audis are booked for the 10 days, from the 21st to the 31st. All 3 of the Audis I have are all booked. So I'm learning that's a hot week. So next year, I know that's going to be a hot week to have some good pricing on that week. So I see that's popular.
Perfect. Okay. Yes. I got to get another car by next week. So we can get this rolling even more. But So that's definitely good to hear. And guys, so this is just part of my strategy, right? I've been talking about other ways to increase income and cash flow outside of just real estate holdings. And that's what this show is about. It's just all kinds of entrepreneurial endeavors that you can do to build up your cash flow and then take that and invest it in whatever other assets you want to invest it, like whether it's reinvesting in your business, whether it's investing in real estate that can give you like long-term appreciation growth, whether it's putting it in maybe some mutual funds or stocks or however you want to. I'm not a fan of the stock market as that big. It's like a cherry on top for your other investments. But I think using these kind of entrepreneurial businesses to build up capital and either let you be free from your job, because I want to follow in you guys' footsteps. I want to get out from the W-2. And once I can replace my income, now I can have more time to work on my businesses and really get things automated and set up and look for the bigger and better and the next things, and like how I can really make more impact in the world, you know, and invest and make impact for my family too. So this is just one of the cogs in the wheel of the plan to create that additional income. And so I'm looking to get $1,000 per month net to me outside of what I'm paying Brianna and Tyrell for helping with the operations and for managing all of that, because that's something I just don't want to do. And I don't mind paying them their fee to handle it, right? It's a lot of work. And you know what I mean? And they do a great job at it and they stay on top of everything. And so you have to decide what side of the coin you want to be on, whether you want to be on the operations side. Maybe you have less capital to start up with, so you can start operating other people's cars where you don't have to come out of pocket to have the money to get the car, but you can start making money with somebody else's asset, right? And if you're somebody who has the capital but doesn't have the time to manage the cars, then you need to be on this side of the coin. So there's always a way to build and grow, and there shouldn't be an excuse as to why you can't do something. And I think that goes back to all the fear and the things that you guys were saying, that people are scared of losing money or scared of taking that leap of faith and that first step. And I equate it to being like in a fog. You can't see 10 feet down the road in a thick fog, right? But you can see enough to take a step, right? You know you're not going to fall off a cliff if you take one step, because you can see that. So just keep taking that one step, and every step the fog clears for that next step, right? And so that's where your journey comes from, because it doesn't come from being able to plan out. And like, yeah, you should have a plan, but if you're going to be frozen until your plan is completely in place, you'll never make a move.
Right.
Absolutely.
Sorry for my long diatribe.
No,
Let me just go on and on.
Speak on stuff like this all the time. We've worked with people who try to save pennies, or what was it? They try to save they lose dollars trying to save pennies.
Yeah.
And we noticed that them not seeing the long term of things just completely screwed them in the long term.
Yeah.
But that's a whole, like,
yeah,
the same way you said you could sit here and talk about car dealerships all day, we could sit here and talk about those instances as well. But yeah.
So give an example of an instance where somebody, you saw in real time or in an experience where somebody was, I guess, hesitant or trying to pinch pennies and save dollars and ended up costing them potential profits. Or just give like an example of a conversation maybe you've had or something you saw.
Okay, guys, don't kill me, but I'm going to have to cut this episode short. This is too juicy, and we need to do this in a part 2. So stay tuned for the next episode that airs, and you can hear the rest of our conversation.
Did you love this episode of Share the Wealth Show? Be sure to connect with Nicole by following her on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. If you picked up any of the gems that were dropped by today's guest, make sure you not only put them in your bag, but if you know of someone who would benefit from this information, don't keep it to yourself. Share the wealth and make sure to leave us a rating and review. We'll see you for next week's episode. Subscribe so you'll be notified.